You good?
Yes, we are good.
Alright, so I am going to be talking about music and how it affects you in multiple different ways. How many of you have ever used music as a way of therapy to deal with, let's say, a big event that kind of happened in your life that maybe you didn't really enjoy the results of what happened? Okay. And how many of you have seen it change how you perceive the world? Okay. So I'm going to get into how it, one, can affect your mood, can improve your perspective of the world around you, and how it can improve your memory so that you don't have to deal with Alzheimer's as you get older. So to start with a quote from Plato, music gives soul to the universe, wings to the mind, flight to the imagination, and life to everything. For one, to start with the emotions, there was a couple of studies that I found, one from Durham University and one from a university in Finland, whose name I cannot pronounce, so I'm not even going to attempt it. Over 2,400 subjects were used in 3 different surveys, and the results were to pinpoint the regulation, how people use music to regulate their mood. So a lot of people, say 2/3 of these different experiments, would use positive music and upbeat music to help improve their mood, to make them feel less sad when they were in sad situations, or to calm them down when they were in angry situations. They would use the upbeat music and the positive music in order to help them relax, in other words. However, still 1/3 of these subjects used music that explained how they felt to intensify the emotion and work their way through what they were already going through. So sad music acts as an empathetic friend to those people. It's when you don't have a friend and maybe you just want to be alone, so you listen to a music that explains how you feel, just so that you can work your way through those emotions and feel like somebody else is there with you, feeling those emotions with you. The upbeat music was proven to improve a person's mood within 2 weeks of just listening to pure upbeat music. And it has been used as therapy to both help relieve mental and physical pain. There was another study that was performed that it showed people that went through surgery. So they had just recently gone through a surgery, and the people that were listening to the more positive music or upbeat music were using it as a kind of painkiller. It wasn't, they requested less painkillers, in fact, and it helped them heal faster mentally and physically. Going into perception, so not only is it able to affect your mood, but it can change your perception on the world around you. There was another study from a university of Groningen. I'm not sure if that's how it's pronounced, but it is a university in the Netherlands. So this test was used with smiley faces. They would put up different smiley faces and they would play music that was either happy or sad, and they told people to identify which smiley faces looked more sad and upsetting and which ones looked more happy and cheerful. So the test actually had quite a unique experience. It ended up showing that experiences with certain types of music could lead you to believing that something that was smiling looked sad, or something that wasn't smiling didn't look like it was as unhappy as it seemed. So it did change people's perception and their perspective of the world around them. Showing that it could also mean that your experiences will differ from somebody else's with one particular song. So one song could mean a great sadness to you, regardless on if it's upbeat or happy. It could mean something of a relationship or a memory that you wish you didn't really have. But for somebody else, it could be a great event for their life. Like maybe they graduated to that song, or maybe they had like their wedding to that song. So that is where perspective and perception come into play. your perception and your perspective can vary depending on the music you listen to. In studies and research done by Dr. William R. Clem, he had done 2 different studies, one on young non-musicians and one on elderly non-musicians. So for the young non-musicians, he played a couple of things. For the first test, he did it with instrumental music. The second test, he did it with just the sound of a waterfall. And the third test, completely in silence. They both studied and took tests on these. Is that time?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that's just...
Okay. So they both studied to these music, the waterfall, and the silence, and they both took the test to the silence, the music, and the waterfall. So the improvement was small, but it was statistically significant in saying that the music was actually helping to improve people remember the 15 words that they were told to remember. They remembered more words when they were listening to music, more words when they were listening to the waterfall, and less words when they were listening to just silence. With the older adults, the average age of these people was about 69. So they did an experiment with no music, with white noise, and then with Mozart and Mahler. So there was a large improvement with Mozart and Mahler on their memory exams, but white noise and no music had almost no effect. They remembered less words. So there was a word memory one, and then they had a recall memory, which they had given them the first letter of the word and told them to write as many words as they could starting with that first letter. And they wrote about 10 more words with music. And there was no difference between it being Mozart or Mahler, but they did feel emotional difference between Mozart and Mahler. So to recap, people have used music as a therapy for their emotions. They use it as a positive influence to their perception, and they use it to greatly improve their memory, their study, and their focus. And to end it, as a quote from Albert Einstein, "If I were not a physicist, I would probably be a musician. I often think in music, live in my daydreams in music. I see my life in terms of music." I find this quote to be very relatable, as I'm sure everyone has had a theme song for different events in their life.